Good morning. I'm Mark from Fluent Finance Abroad, and this is the next interview in the series that we're doing to promote local businesses. I'm here today with Alex Radford, the owner of a law firm called My Lawyer in Spain. And I thought it'd be a really good idea to get to know Alex a bit more and to get some insights from the legal profession in how to buy a place in Spain. Good morning, Alex.
Morning, Mark, and thank you for the kind invite.
Absolute pleasure. It's lovely to see you, by the way.
Good to see you too, yeah.
So the first thing is, obviously, Alex, we've known each other for a long time, but tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your history.
So basically, my parents moved to Spain in 1981. Spain wasn't a member of the EU then. They joined in 1985. And I went to an English school to start off with here in Spain. And then my parents saw that I wasn't learning any Spanish. So they put me in a Spanish school, and within 6 months I was fluent. And I went back to the UK in 92 to go to university. I studied law with European legal systems, spent a year at the University of Salamanca, and then started practicing as a lawyer in 99. And because I'd grown up in Spain, the idea, well, the itch was there always to come back to Spain. So I came back to Spain in 2003. And since then I've been acting for international clients, buying, selling, and inheriting property and doing business all across Spain. And I set up My Lawyer in Spain 10 years ago, and now we've got offices all across Spain. Why I chose law originally, I think probably because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to help people, and I think as a bilingual English speaking and Spanish lawyer here in Spain, I can help that international community, buy, sell, inherit property safely and securely.
So you see yourself as a bridge between the two communities, is that?
Yes, absolutely. I do believe I'm a bridge between both the cultures and societies. Speaking English and Spanish is a gift, so I'm very grateful to my parents for that. And then being dual qualified is also a gift that I spent many years at university trying to achieve and achieving. So yeah, we do make a difference, and all the people in the office speak English and Spanish fluently. So we have in the office we concentrate on the 3 C's. So clients first, colleagues, and then community. So we always put clients first, and because if you look after the clients, they'll look after you, and then obviously we're going to look after our colleagues, and then we do things in the community as well. So we sponsor local team events, and so we sponsor the local football team, local bowls club, local triathlon team, and other charities, etc. So we put something back in the community as well.
So tell us a bit about My Lawyer in Spain.
So basically, I've been going to basically an exhibition in the UK called A Place of the Sun.
Yeah.
Been doing that since 2009. And when I started going to the London exhibition, we only had 2 offices, one in Malaga and one in Madrid. And people would contact me, say, from Murcia or Alicante, and say, look, I want you to act for us, but you haven't got an office locally, so I'm going to use a local lawyer. So then I thought, well, actually, look, if we could put in place a law firm with English-speaking lawyers specialising in, for example, conveyancing or inheritances, then we could bring in that work, and we'd be much closer to the local population that needed us. So we set up in Marbella to start off with, and then since then we've grown. So now we have our own offices in Ciudad Quesada in Alicante, we've got another one in Javier, and a new office in Torre del Mar. So those are our kind of 4 owned offices, and then we have associated offices in Almeria, in Mallorca, in Tenerife, in Madrid, Galicia, and Bilbao and Valencia. So we've still got colleagues in those areas who can speak to our clients, but our 4 offices are the ones that we directly control and have input over.
And how's that journey been?
Yeah, growing the business actually kind of came naturally because clients would, it wasn't too difficult to open an office in Ciudad Quesada because we had a lot of clients there. So we opened the offices and clients came in. Same with Javier, the same with Torre del Mar. So where we find, when we open an office locally, we are capturing our local clients. And obviously we've got some great videos on YouTube about moving to Spain, taxes payable to Spain, residencies, visas, etc. And those help as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with where the brand's going. I'm very happy with the team. I've got a great team. Very proud of the team that we've built over the last 10 years. And we've gone from strength to strength. So it's proud moments.
Your work ethic is pretty high.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. So listen, we are We work hard and play hard, yeah. But we work very hard. So yeah, I travel between the offices, travel abroad to see clients as well. But we've got a core team in the office, great support staff. So if I'm not there, there are other lawyers in the office that step up. And initially, the Ryder and Spain started with just myself, and then I've managed to grow that over the years and bring in very valuable team members who are super capable and are basically becoming leading lights in their own areas now. For example, inheritance and wills, we're specialising in that area. We've got a lot of work in that area. And then conveyancing, property, we've got a lot of property work on the go. So those two areas, and now tax. We've got a tax lawyer in our office. So we're expanding tax area, and also non-residence income tax. So we're basically international clients moving to Spain or thinking about actually becoming a resident. We can help them with that move. And then once they're here, we can continue to provide legal services to them.
So your firm, I wanted to ask you that. So what areas do you specialise in here? You obviously conveyancing law, property law, inheritance, residency, and taxation. Is there anything else that you do?
No, that's basically it. So wills, probate, property work, buying, selling, donating properties, and then taxation for residents and non-residents. Yeah.
What are the differences between buying a property in Spain to the UK, for example?
Right. Okay. I mean, the principle is kind of generally the same in that you find a property, you make an offer, and that offer gets accepted, and then the conveyancing process starts. In Spain, what we find is that the agents will take monies off the clients, whereas in the UK, for example, and other jurisdictions, monies won't be taken by an estate agent. It will be between lawyers. Okay, so I'd say that's probably the main difference. And over in Spain, once you've signed the contract, you're committed to it. So we'd always recommend that clients send us the contract through, first of all, to look through that. So to insert clauses such as subject to survey, subject to mortgage, subject to certain, the property meeting certain planning requirements. Look at that reservation contract, and then go from there. In the UK, it goes straight to the lawyers, and the lawyers deal with that lawyer between lawyer. But here we deal with a lot of agents, and a lot of those agents are unregulated. So we've got to, deal with different contracts from all over the country. Whereas in the UK, solicitor to solicitor, there's a law society approved contract, so we've got one contract.
Right.
Here we haven't got that. But generally, we sign the contract, we'd exchange, we carry out our legal report back to the clients. We still carry out our searches like we do in the UK. Report back to the clients, assuming they're happy, we're happy. We exchange contracts, then we complete. Completion in the UK is over the phone. So when I was working as a conveyancing lawyer in the UK, exchange contracts over the phone and you complete over the phone, lawyer to lawyer. In Spain, we've got to go down to the notary.
Yeah.
So we go down to the notary, we complete at the notary. And it's, exchange of checks. More often now, you are doing exchanges, bank transfers. But by and large, it's still check driven, and you spend time at the notary. Whereas in the UK, it's just bank transfers. So there's similarities, but big differences as well.
I think the whole notary system is a massive difference, which people struggle to understand. Is that generally because it's a Latin-based legal system in Spain?
Yeah, so it's basically a civil law based system. So we've got the notarial system there, and it took me some time getting used to it. But actually, once you've got used to it, the notary does provide some guarantees and does help along the process. It is different, say, for example, the French regime, where basically the French notary tends to manage the whole transaction, whereas here in Spain, lawyers for the buyer and the seller manage the transaction and then instruct the notary, and then the notary prepares the draft deed, which obviously then gets reviewed by the buyers and sellers. But the notarial system is a good system, but it is administratively cumbersome. So I think there's got to be changes in the future to that.
From my experience as being a mortgage broker in the UK, I find it very strange why lawyers wouldn't be able to put together a purchase agreement and conduct a deal. I find it difficult to understand why we would have to do something which is kind of basic, from my understanding, would have to actually go through a notary, but that's just the way it is here, right?
Yeah, I think also there's a lot more trust in the English legal system. So, for example, we have things like we have what's called undertakings. So, undertakings, basically, if a solicitor promises something to their colleague, to another solicitor, that's a promise that you've got to, adhere to. We don't have that system here in Spain, and the regulatory system of Spanish lawyers is not as intense as it is in the UK.
Okay, well, that brings me nicely to the next question then. So how are Spanish lawyers regulated and policed?
Yeah, so basically you've got the College of Lawyers. So I'm a member of the College of Lawyers of Malaga, and I pay my dues every year, and they provide me with professional liability insurance. We've topped that up as well, so we've got additional insurance. But basically that's it. So you're policed by the College of Lawyers, and each lawyer will be registered with a College of Lawyers in the area.
I've come across lawyers that aren't registered with the College of Lawyers in Malaga, for example.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, unfortunately, we do come across a lot of agents or people who call themselves lawyers who aren't lawyers. And I think the best way of overcoming that is, one, you check the College of Lawyers website, and also you ask the lawyer to confirm costs in writing to you. So one of our things we do, first step in the process is we send a letter to the client setting out the terms of business.
Yeah.
These are our costs. These are the services we're going to carry out. And actually, look, we are regulated by the College of Lawyers. So we confirm that in writing to our clients, and they have professional liability insurance on the back of that. If they instruct someone who's not regulated, not covered with insurance, if anything goes wrong, then it's a tough call.
And you can't sue them.
They can't. Well, they can sue them, but there's no insurer behind them to protect them. So it is really important. I think the clients instruct or speak to independent lawyers who speak their language, specialise in the area of law that they want, and also that they're regulated with the local College of Lawyers.
So what you're saying is the regulation in Spain for lawyers is fairly weak?
I'd say it could be stronger, Mark. It could be stronger. So if I compare both systems, the UK system is much more thorough, more regular reviews, and it's a very good system. And I think the Spanish regulatory system for lawyers has some catching up to do. Yeah,
we deal with many lawyers in our day-to-day business, and we come across those that are registered with the College of Lawyers and ones that aren't, and it confuses us as to how that can be.
Yeah. So let me just give you an example. They're also that in England and Wales, I think they're on their 5th edition of a conveyancing contract in all the years that it has existed, and that conveyancing contract is used by all lawyers in the UK when buying or selling property for their clients. In Spain, every time we deal with a different lawyer, it's a different contract. Right. So that's something that I've been disappointed that the Spanish College of Lawyers haven't progressed. Yeah.
So now that Brexit's been here, and obviously COVID's gone past now, we can focus on Brexit again. How has Brexit actually affected the property market in Spain?
Well, I think we had a lot of clients buying property before Brexit. They wanted to buy property. They wanted to apply for residency before, December 2019, and that happened. And we got their visas for them. We've got a busy residency team on the back of the Brexit referendum. We didn't really deal with residencies before, but now we do. There's residencies and visa team, which is very busy. And then post Brexit, non-Europeans, Brits included in that, are restricted to 90 days and a 180-day period. So if they want to spend longer than the consecutive 90 days, then they have to apply for a visa or a residency card. And that's really been the major change. And, years ago, someone would come over to Spain, they might see a business that they like, and they would buy it. They can't do that now. They've got to basically apply for a visa from the UK to be able to work in Spain, and someone from the Spanish consulate in their home country will have to decide whether or not to grant that visa. They've got to prepare a business plan, etc. So it's become a lot more bureaucratic and more difficult for non-Europeans, especially Brits, to come out to Spain to buy a business and move to Spain as easily as they did before. So it's more restrictive. However, what Brits certainly have got to be aware of is this isn't unique to Brits. These rules and regulations were in place before. So Americans, Canadians, Australians had those rules before. So the British people are now lumped in with these new regulations that existed before.
So I got an inquiry the other day. A 29-year-old couple wanted to buy an animal refuge, like a cattery or something like that. That would be difficult for a Brit these days, right?
If they haven't got Spanish nationality or European passport, then in effect they've got to apply to the Spanish consulate in the UK for a work visa to buy that business.
Okay, which would be difficult to do it.
It's not insurmountable, but more complicated. Yeah.
Sure. Whereas before
they come out to Spain, they'd instruct a lawyer, carry out some due diligence on the business and buy it.
Yeah.
Now they need to prepare a business plan. Not a bad thing, but they have to prepare a business plan, submit that to an official at the Spanish consulate, and then the Spanish consulate decides whether or not your business plan is good enough to buy a business, and that takes time.
Of course.
And by the time you've completed that, the business might be sold to someone else.
Yeah, sure.
So it's not very practical.
So what are the different types of visas that people can actually go for? I think there's three main core ones.
Yeah, so the main visas are the non-lucrative visa, someone who wants to retire to Spain, maybe buy a property, rent a property, and that means they can spend the visa. They apply to the Spanish consulate in their local country for that visa. It's granted for a year, and then they renew it when they're here in Spain. That's the non-lucrative visa. You've got the golden visa. Essentially, someone has to buy a property of 500,000 euros plus in the name of one person only, no debt on it. And the good thing about that visa is you can apply for that visa from here in Spain, and it gets granted for an initial period of 3 years, and then that period is then extended.
And the process of renewing is straightforward?
Yeah, so long as you keep the investment, you keep the property debt-free in your own name. On the golden visa, it's easily renewed. You only have to spend 1 day in Spain to get that renewed. For the non-lucrative visa, you've got to spend a minimum of 180 days in Spain, okay? And when they calculate the days, they do it this way. They say, right, you come into Spain on a Tuesday and leave on a Wednesday. That's one night, but actually it's 2 days. So that's how they look at it,
right.
Okay? But yeah, so then you've got the non-lucrative visa, the golden visa, and then the digital nomad visa. That came into force. That law was a startups law. It came into force on the 28th of December, 2022. And with that law, basically someone who is employed by a company outside of Spain, if their company authorizes them to work from Spain, then they can apply for the digital nomad visa. And that companies have had to be in existence for more than 12 months, and the employees had to work for them for at least 3 months. And then we apply for that visa from here. Again, it's the same department that handles the golden visa department. And then basically once that visa is granted, there's tax advantages. They're taxed depending on their circumstances, pay 24% tax on their income generated from their employment.
If I own my own business in the UK, for example, I'm 100% shareholder, and let's say I've got 10 employees, would I be able to qualify for a digital nomad visa?
Yes.
If it's my own business?
Yes, you can. So that's basically a self-employed owner of a business.
Yeah.
We've acted for clients we've achieved that. However, they might not be entitled to the 24% because they've already got their business. So employees coming out to Spain can register under the Beckham regime, and they pay 24% on the income that they generate. Self-employed directors, owners of businesses can come out to Spain and apply for the digital nomad visa, but they might not benefit from those tax rates.
Okay, so that is still possible.
Yeah. So in addition, on the digital nomad visa, you've got self-employed individuals such as lawyers, accountants, computer programmers. Yeah. They can live in Spain. They can actually bill 20% of their business to Spanish companies, but 80% has to be outside of Spain. Okay, so remember, for the digital nomad visa to work, it's a foreign company, not one based in Spain, but that foreign company authorizes you to work in Spain, or you work for at least 80% of that company, and it's not based in Spain. We've been dealing with digital nomad visa since December. We've had quite a few approvals through, and each one has to be considered on its own merits.
Case by case.
Case by case, yeah.
So the advice would be get informed about how easy or difficult it would be before you actually make the move.
Definitely. Let's have a conversation up front. People can go onto our website, they can book a consultation, to speak to a dedicated visa specialist who can talk to them about whether or not they would meet the visa requirements.
Are you able to buy a business and get residency that way?
Again, we go back to the Qatari example we talked about.
Right.
Again, you'd have to apply for.
Oh, I see.
You'd have to go back to the Spanish consulate, put the business plan together, approval from the Spanish consulate.
Am I right to say that you can invest $1 million into a Spanish company, $1 million?
Yes. So the golden visa is basically €500,000 property, or you can put €1 million in a bank account, or you can invest a similar amount into a Spanish company, or buy Spanish public debt.
Yeah.
But typically, the most popular versions we're seeing are Spanish property and €1 million in the bank.
There's a bit of a ongoing thing at the moment. Some lawyers act as mortgage intermediaries. What experience do you have with Spanish banks and mortgages in general over the years?
Well, first of all, I would always recommend that clients speak to an independent mortgage broker like yourself at Fluent Finance Abroad. Why? Because you've got a range of products that you can put on offer. You've got arrangements with the banks, and you can give them much better rates than if they went to their local bank manager. And I think, I remember speaking to you a few years back. The client had, arranged his own mortgage with a Spanish lender, and I asked you if that was a good rate, and you said you could have bettered that by at least 1%. And so, whilst it might seem cheaper and quicker and easier to go and see your local bank, the product they actually sell you could end up being more expensive further down the line. So I'd always recommend speaking to an independent mortgage broker, and we don't get involved in that. We put them, we'd ask clients to speak to you, contact you, and then, obtain a mortgage offer from whoever you recommend.
Some lawyers do, though. Some lawyers do take that on because I think they're getting incentivized by the bank to do so. But you've chosen not to do that.
Yeah. So we I'm not interested in any commissions or incentives from the banks. I want the client to get the best mortgage deal possible, and the way I believe clients can achieve that is by speaking to someone who's totally independent and who specializes in the mortgage business.
And that's why you're here today, because you put your clients first, and we appreciate that. We've been talking a bit about regulation, and there's a hot topic at the moment about how the Spanish real estate market isn't regulated in certain areas in Andalusia, for example, where we are. What's your thoughts on regulating Spanish real estate and real estate agents?
Absolutely, they should be regulated. So obviously we've got 17 different regions in Spain, and each region is implementing their own regulations. So we're very active up in the Valencian region, and there are regulations there, and estate agents have got to pass exams, and that's positive, because we want a strong real estate industry, regulated and acting in the best interests of the consumers. So I think, well done Valencia. Other regions should follow suit. There was talk about a draft law in Andalusia being implemented, but that seems to have died of death. But I welcome any regulation for estate agents to give them, to improve their image, provide training would be welcome.
I agree. I think regulation is a good thing. A lot of people may disagree, but regulation is an ongoing thing, and it's there to ensure that good practice not only is there at the beginning but continues. And I think that's what I think, because of the money that's involved in the real estate business in Spain. I think it's the least that we could do.
Absolutely. The agents need to be implementing best practice, and not all agents do that. So best practice for clients rather than best practice for them.
Okay. That's all the questions that I have for you today. I really appreciate the time.
My pleasure.
And it's been very insightful. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.